the limits of consciousness. Therefore, let me see. Therefore, the information we allow into consciousness becomes extremely important. It is, in fact, what determines the content and the quality of life. Attention as psychic energy. Paragraph 31, page number 31, paragraph number 3. 1, 2, 3. Some people learn to use this priceless resource efficiently, while others waste it. The mark of a person who is in control of consciousness is the ability to focus attention at will, to be obvious to distractions, to concentrate for as long as it takes to achieve a goal and not longer. And the person who can do this usually enjoys the normal course of everyday life. Number 3. Because attention determines what will or will not appear in consciousness, and because it is also required to make any other mental events, such as remembering, thinking, feeling, and making decisions happen there, it is useful to think of it as psychic energy. Attention is like energy in that without it, no work can be done, and in doing work, it is dissipated. We create ourselves by how we invest this energy. Memories, thoughts, and feelings are also shaped by how we use it, and it is an energy under our control to do with as we please. Hence, attention is our most important tool in the task of improving the quality of experience. Page 36, paragraph number 2. One of the main forces that affects consciousness adversely is psychic disorder. That is, before that, disorder in consciousness, psychic and entropy. One of the main forces that affects consciousness adversely is psychic disorder. That is information that conflicts with existing intentions or distracts us from carrying them out. We give this condition many names depending on how we experience it: pain, fear, rage, anxiety, or jealousy. All these varieties of disorder force attention to be diverted to undesirable objects, leaving us no longer free to use it according to our preferences. Psychic energy becomes unwieldy and ineffective. Page 38, paragraph number 3. The outside event, where is it? Right here. The outside event appears in consciousness purely as information, without necessarily having a positive or negative value attached to it. It is the self that interprets the raw information in the context of its own interest and determines whether it is harmful or not. Page 39, paragraph number 1. Every piece of information we process gets evaluated for its bearing on the self. Does it threaten our goals? Does it support them? Or is it neutral? News of the fall of the stock market will upset the banker, but it might reinforce the sense of self of the political activist. A new piece of information will either create disorder in consciousness by getting us all worked up to face the threat, or it will reinforce our goals, thereby freeing up psychic energy. Order in consciousness flow. The opposite state from the condition of psychic entropy is optimal experience, when the information that keeps coming into awareness is congruent with goals. Psychic energy flows effortlessly. There is no need to worry, no reason to question one's adequacy. But whenever one does start to think about oneself, the evidence is encouraging. You are doing all right. The positive feedback strengthens the self, and more attention is freed to deal with the outer and the inner environment. Another one of our respondents, a worker named Rico Medellin, gets this feeling quite often on his job. He was in the same factory at Julio, a little further up on the assembly line. The task he has to perform on each unit that passes in front of his station should take 43 seconds to perform. The same exact operation almost 600 times in a working day. Most people would grow tired of such work very soon, but Rico has been at this job for over 5 years and he still enjoys it. The reason is that he approaches his task in the same way an Olympic athlete approaches his event. How can I beat my record? Like the runner who trains for years to shave a few seconds off his best performance on the track, Rico has trained himself to better his time on the assembly line. With the painstaking care of surgeon, he has worked out a private routine for how to use his tools, how to do his moves. After 5 years, his best average for a day has been 28 seconds per unit. In part, he tries to improve his performance to earn a bonus and the respect of his supervisors. But most often, he does not even let on to others that he is ahead and lets his success pass unnoticed. It is enough to know that he can do it, because when he is working at a top performance, the experience is so enthralling that it's almost painful for him to slow down. It's better than anything else, Rico says. It's a whole lot better than watching TV. Rico knows that very soon he will reach the limit beyond which he will no longer be able to improve his performance at his job. So twice a week he takes evening courses in electronics. When he has his diploma, he will seek a more complex job, one that presumably he will confront with the same enthusiasm he has shown so far. For Pam Davis, it is much easier to achieve this harmonious, effortless state when she works. As a young lawyer in a small partnership, she is fortunate to be involved in a complex, challenging cases. She spends hours in the library chasing down references and outlining possible courses of action for the senior partners of the firm to follow. Often, her concentration is so intense that she forgets to have lunch, and by the time she realizes that she is hungry, it is dark outside. While she is immersed in her job, every piece of information fits, even when she is temporarily frustrated. She knows what causes the frustration, and she believes that eventually the obstacle can be overcome. These examples illustrate what we mean by optimal experience. There are situations in which attention can be freely invested to achieve a person's goal because there is no disorder to straighten out, no threat for the self to defend against. We have called state the flow experience because this is the term many of the people we interviewed had used in their descriptions of how it felt to be in top form. It was like floating. It was carried on by the flow. It is the opposite of psychic entropy. In fact, it is sometimes called neck entropy. And those who attend it develop a stronger, more confident self because more of their psychic energy has been invested successfully in goals that they themselves had chosen to pursue. When a person is able to organize his or her consciousness so as to experience flow as often as possible, the quality of life is inevitably going to improve because, as in the case of Rico and Palm, even in the usually boring routines of work become purposeful and enjoyable. In flow, we are in control of our psychic energy and everything we do adds order to consciousness. One of our respondents, a well-known West Coast rock climber, explains concisely the tie between the avocation that gives him a profound sense of flow and the rest of his life. It's exhilarating to come closer and closer to self-discipline. You make your body go and everything hurts. Then you look back in awe at yourself, at what you have done. It just blows your mind. It leads to ecstasy, to self-fulfillment. If you win these battles enough, that battle against yourself, at least for a moment, it becomes easier to win the battles in the world. The battle is not really against the self, but against the entropy that brings disorder to consciousness. It is really a battle for the self. It is a struggle for establishing control over attention. The struggle does not necessarily have to be physical, as in the case of the glamour. But anyone who has experienced flow knows that the deep enjoyment it provides requires an equal degree of disciplined concentration. Page 42. Um, Paragraph 2 and 3. The self becomes complex as a result of experiencing flow. Paradoxically, it is when we act freely for the sake of the action itself rather than for ulterior motives that we learn to become more than what we were. When we choose a goal and invest ourselves in it to the limits of our concentration, whenever we do will be enjoyable. Whatever we do will be enjoyable. And once we have tasted this joy, we will redouble our efforts to taste it again. This is the way the self grows. It is the way Rico was able to draw so much out of his intensely boring job on the assembly line or art from his poetry. It is the way E overcame her disease to become an influential scholar and a powerful executive. Flow is important, both because it makes the present instant more enjoyable and because it builds a self-confidence that allows us to develop skills and make significant contributions to humankind. Um, the rest of this volume will explore more thoroughly what we know about optimal experience, how they feel, and under what conditions they occur. Even though there is no easy shortcut to flow, it is possible if one understands how it works to transform life, to create more harmony in it, and to liberate the psychic energy that otherwise would be wasted in boredom or worry. Okay, that's it.